Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hoosier Homestead. I'm Alex, back in the garage doing another book video. Just wanted to go over some books that I picked up, finished reading, bought at book sales, what have you. I am in my garage, which we have 5 chickens in here currently because my wife found them on Facebook Marketplace. And so we are the proud new owner of 5 2-year-old chickens. And we apparently have to quarantine them in the garage until they are deemed not sick and can go with the rest of the flock. So you might hear some chickens in the background. Stay tuned. I'll show you those at the end. Anyways, got a list of books I wanted to talk about here. Actually, quite a few. Some of these I bought at book sales. Our library had a book sale this week, or little free libraries, or just books I've checked out from the library, because I do that a lot. One of them's not on here that I read on my Kindle. We'll talk about that a little bit. Actually, talk about that first. I just finished The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Actually, I did not finish it. I got like 85% through, and it was a really tough DNF for me, but I was not able to finish it. Um, if you're not familiar with The Secret History, I think she wrote it in the 90s, and so the 1990s, Vermont, USA, and it follows this group of 6 college students that are studying Greek classical history at a very small liberal arts college, and they all are in this close knit Greek program that's taught by this one professor. And so all their classes are the same group with the same professor, and it just follows their story through these 2 semesters, through this year of college. Um, the storyline was kind of interesting because the first line of the book talks about one of the students lying dead in this ravine. And so the whole time you're like working up to this. So that was kind of a prologue. The author, or the narrator of the book, is one of the 6 students, and Richard is retelling what happened exactly. But the first sentence, he talks about this student, Bunny, um, lying dead in a ravine. And so the whole book is basically him telling that story. But the climax happens like at the 50% mark. And so you work your way up to the climax, and then it slowly like tapers off. And then yeah, like I said, I read it on my Kindle so I could see the percentage. I'm like 80% through, and it just got too weird for me, for one. Um, Two is, it's just, I wish the climax was more towards that part of the book, kind of keep you engaged. But anyways, probably get a lot of flack. I know a lot of people probably like that book. It is a popular book. I do plan on reading another one of her books, The Goldfinch, that she came out a few years ago. I think it actually won a Pulitzer Prize. Anyways, she's a good writer. I will give her that. Donna Tartt. Maybe I just didn't like The Secret History. So I finished that the other night. I started reading A Short Stay in Hell. I can't remember the name of that author, but it's on my Kindle. It's a novella. It's like a 150-page book, but it's about a guy. From what I can tell, he dies and is in this like library where he has millions of books he has to read, and he can't get to heaven until he finds the book that contains his life story. And so I'm only a few pages in, a few chapters in, but the whole premise seems interesting, and it's a short story, short novella. Should be able to get through that pretty quickly. And I started that last night. Let's see, something else I just started is Salem's Lot by Stephen King. This is my second read through this one. I really enjoyed this story the first time I read it a couple years ago. There's also a new movie coming out on HBO Max, I think this week, October 3rd, which I'm looking forward to. But this was the second book that he ever wrote, and it definitely has the vibes you get from reading a Stephen King book. I really like his storytelling, and this one is definitely one of my top 5 probably favorite books of his. and it follows this author, Ben Mears. He revisits his hometown of Jerusalem's Lot, Maine, and there's this haunted house, the Marston House, that gets bought by a couple of weird, or not weird, but very strange, two very strange men. And I don't want to spoil it, but there are vampires in the story, and it deals the house is haunted, and so there's a lot of good Halloween elements, and I think this is a good Halloween time read. It does take place in September, October, Maine, and so you just have the fall vibes. And so I'm really enjoying the reread of this one. I also like rereading books that I really liked reading the first time because you don't really have to think about it as much, and it's almost like having a TV show on in the background that you've watched before. You can kind of just breeze through it, and you don't have to worry about missing anything. Another book I just finished a week ago. I got this from our local library, The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I really like this one. I've read a few of her books so far. She seems really an author that I really like. Got my bookmark in there. A lot of her stuff. So I've read this one. I've read Murder Road, and I've read. I can't remember the third one I read. I read 3 of hers, and they all have the same theme of kind of supernatural thriller. They all kind of a ghost element to them, like a ghost story. This one takes place at a hotel, and it goes back and forth between the 1980s and present day. And I think the 1980s storyline follows a woman who goes missing, and they never find out what happened to her. And then the present day storyline follows this woman that went missing, her niece. Yeah, it's her niece, and she's like trying to find out what happened. So it's a pretty cool story. There's some supernatural elements to it. So if you like a ghost story, I would recommend that one. What else? I picked up this at the library, The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty. I've heard a lot of good things about this book. I've never watched the movie, but you can tell this copy's been very well loved, so it must be a good one. I don't know a whole lot about it, but like I just gonna try it out, see what happens. The 40th anniversary edition. So one book this is one I'm probably going to get some hate on because I did not like it at first. I read about 100 pages of this one. It's a science fiction one. I'm not normally into science fiction type books. I just thought I'd try this one out because there is a couple movies that I wanted to watch, and maybe I just need to watch the movies first. So this is Dune by Frank Herbert. I read about 100 pages in, and I actually listened to the audiobook for the most time on my way like to and from work. So maybe that was the issue. Just a lot of strange names, and it was hard to picture if I couldn't see the word. So maybe I just need to read the book, and then I'll enjoy it more. But I do think there are times when it's just not the right time in your life to read a book, and so I think I would like this story, this premise. It is an interesting story from what I can tell, but I just don't think it's the right time in my life to read this one. So I will revisit this one. I'm not saying I did not like this one. I'm just saying it's not the right time. But that is something I did not finish recently. Other new books. I found this today at our local little free library. I've never read a Tom Clancy book, but his just the premise of his books seems like something I would like, almost like a historical military fiction type thing. So I think I'll try that out sometime soon. Today's my wife's birthday, and so she's a huge Nicholas Sparks fan. So I got her the latest Nicholas Sparks book for her birthday. So I know she's looking forward to that. I can honestly say I've never read one of his books, but maybe I'll try one. I've watched The Notebook before, which is probably one of his most favorite or most famous ones, most favorited ones. So maybe I'll read that one. I'm pretty sure she has all of his books in hardback. and maybe accept a couple, but she's definitely read all of them. She didn't even know this was coming out, actually. It is really new, so I know she's excited about that one. The last few books I have here, I got at our local library, was having a book sale. They're like 25 cents a piece, so I couldn't say no to these. But this one is Coal Country Killing. The cover and title just looked really interesting. It is a nonfiction. I do like to throw some nonfiction into my reading repertoire every once in a while, to kind of keep me going with something that's not fiction every once in a while. I don't know. But this story seemed interesting just based on the back cover. It's about a true story about a coal mining town in West Virginia and Kentucky, and there's a murder within a union, like a union boss type murder. I don't know. It seems kind of cool. This one, How to Avoid a Climate Disaster. I wanted to read this one for a while. I think this is going to be a lot more wordy, and so kind of a more of a textbook type thing, but we'll see. I've never read one of his books before. I don't know if Bill Gates has written any other books. I'm sure he has, but he just seems like an interesting guy. So we'll check it out. And then the last one is really just kind of like a workbook type of book. It's STEM outdoors activities for young children. Something we really try to do with our kids, our boys, or plan to do anyways, is to get outside and to learn from nature and from the outdoors as much as we can. And so this book has over 100 STEM activities. And STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and math, I believe. And so my wife and I, do enjoy reading books that help us to engage with learning outdoors as well as much as we can. So looking forward to that one. So yeah, like I said, working through Salem's Lot right now. Really enjoying that reread. And then probably after this one, I'm going to read The Exorcist. But also, since these are physical copies, I usually read my physical copies like when I'm during the day, when I can, when it's light out and I'm able to hold a physical book. And I'll read my Kindle at night when I'm laying in bed. One, because it's just a little, very light piece of the technology. It also has a backlight so you can read in bed and not disturb the person you're sleeping next to. So I've got a couple Kindle books, ebooks that I've loaded on there. Like I said, A Short Stay in Hell. There's a novella that I started last night. I've got a Brandon Sanderson book on there. I've never read any Brandon Sanderson before, but I think I've heard a lot of good things, so I'm looking forward to that. I think it's the Mistborn series. It's the first one of that. I also really want to read The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson as well, but that's like a 1,200 page book, and I don't know if I can do that right now, just because stuff going on. I think that's about it. I got my coffee here, my Indiana Starbucks mug. We are the Hoosier Homestead in the Hoosier State. My son really likes to point out the apple on here. He always says apple, apple. These Starbucks mugs are kind of cool. I've got this one, and I've got an Illinois one. I'm originally from Illinois. I think that's it for now. You want to see the chickens? Let me point this over here. So there's the chickens. Don't have names for them yet. If anyone has any ideas, let me know. Looks like they did lay an egg. Won't let me zoom. That's kind of cool. But yeah, we have them quarantined for now, just because we don't want to expose our chickens that are outside to any potential sickness that these ones might have. We don't think they have anything, but you never know, because you don't want to add these to the flock and then all of your chickens get sick, and then the worst could happen and they all pass away. But we definitely don't want that. So just probably keep them in here for about a week or two, and then hope for the best. So I think that's it for now. Really appreciate you watching these, and let me know what you're reading. And if you have any good suggestions of books, I guess. And if you really like this, if you want to see more content, make sure to like and subscribe. And I appreciate that as well. So have a good week.